Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And I should do a recognition. Is that on my agenda somewhere? That we're meeting on the unceded territory of the St'át'imc Nation here. The first item is to approve the agenda as circulated. Could I have a motion to that effect? Moved by Sal, seconded by Jackie. Now, if you're in favor of something, you don't have to do anything at all. If you're opposed, you have to pipe up and wave your arms, okay? So, all in favor, approved. Item 3, the special staff report. Kristen, would you like to talk about that one, please?
Yep, this is just the requirement that we have if we're not allowing public participation. We did this last meeting as well. If we're not allowing public participation, we have to pass a resolution explaining why and what measures we're taking to ensure that the public can have access to this meeting. I believe you're muted, Vivian.
Do we need to make a motion, Kristen?
Yeah.
I'll motion.
Thank you.
And Sal is seconding that. All in favor, opposed, carried. Now we're looking at the consent agenda, and the only item on it is the minutes from our last meeting. A motion to approve the consent agenda, please. And that's Sal. Seconded by Jackie. Thank you. All in favor, opposed, seeing none. Consent agenda is carried. There is no business arising from the minutes to my mind. Anybody else? Staff reports and other business. So that would be Kristen or Patricia?
Well, that's just this starting with our working document. Is that what we're going to jump right back into where we left off? Yeah, okay.
I'd like to do that. And now, is everybody good with that? Okay. Suzanne will be the only one who probably hasn't seen sort of what we've done to date, but just so you know, we adopted the report in January 2020, and then Area A took it and made a bit of a table with some of the action items, and we are working on that, trying to sort of make a working document that we're all in agreement with. And we spent the last couple of meetings working on that, and my most sincere intention to finish that today, and so that we could talk about what we kind of agree to as priorities. So I'm thinking Patricia could share the screen. So we're all, oh, sorry, Jackie, yes?
Vivian, like we discussed before, I just wanted to throw an idea out there for discussion. So as everybody knows, there's 3 tabs on the working document. The first tab is specific to the categories and the category descriptions. Then we have the main bulk of the actions in the second tab sheet, I should say. And then the third is a organization list. And Vivian and I categorized it into 3 separate columns where it would be different actions as to what that organization would be sending it to or reviewing it, or we're looking to them to collaborate or whatnot. So I'd like to make, I'd like to put out a motion. Actually, I'd like 3. I'm going to be really bold here and put 3 motions on the table, and the first one would be to accept the sheet that has the organizations, and that sheet would, so basically a motion to accept the list of organizations, to invite for updates and information or reporting on the action items, and to invite to discuss collaboration on the action items and to review the document and actions. So basically to accept it, and it could be added to, but accept it as legit and part of this document.
Sorry, to accept that sheet as legit.
So
Like, I'm not sure what you mean.
So I accept it as part of the report, as part of the actions. I guess I need help with exactly what that is, but I'd like to legitimize that list as part of the and integral to the action items.
So that particular list that Jackie's referring to would be the second tab, and it's got the name of the organization, and it starts with all the Northern Stadtlium communities. And then we talked about et cetera. And it goes on to a second page on my.
So what we did was we created this list as Vivian and I were reviewing the document for three separate purposes. Basically to identify those organizations to invite for updates and information and to report on the action items. And the second would be to invite them to discuss collaboration on the items. And then the third is, the third purpose was for any organizations to review the document and actions. So we wanted to highlight and ensure that there were specific organizations, governments, et cetera, that we were connecting with for those three purposes. So there sometimes an organization will have all three check marks. Sometimes they'll just have one, sometimes they'll have two out of those categories that are the headers. Does anyone have any objections or comments or?
So I have a comment. There's 30 organizations on this list. So are you, like, you're thinking that these would be organizations that this committee would invite to update the committee on what? On how they are, I'm sorry. I don't know if, I'm just not sure how we're going to invite these 30 organizations to update and provide information and reporting to this committee.
So
let's go through, let's go through one. Let's pick one. Let's pick the Lillooet Friendship Center. So we would invite them for updates on items from this action list that they've been tasked with. Is that fair? Maybe you could just take me through one example, just so I can understand how this sheet's working.
Okay, so if we take the Lillooet Friendship Center example, then basically we would invite them to be able to see the action items from this list and any outcomes so that they're up to speed with progress and things that are going on that could relate to them. And that creates a dialogue. And then invite to discuss collaboration on action items. It means that we've reviewed the action items and there's potentially one or more action items that we should talk to them about collaboration on. And then the third was that they should be allowed to review the document so that if they're working on any projects that we don't know about that could contribute to completed actions, then they have that ability to inform us. So it's much more to do with just making the connection for communication and keeping that communication open and flowing so that we know what's happening in the community and we're not duplicating our efforts.
See, and this is valuable because there's a lot of energy that could be generated, some synergy that could come out of us communicating with these different groups. Like the Friendship Center is actually a pretty good example. I didn't know that they are running a bus back and forth to Kamloops and in fact to Whistler. They're taking particularly women who are involved trying to get away from domestic violence and other abusive situations. I didn't know that. That was the OWL bus that I funded at the last EAD meeting.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there are other people on this committee that didn't know about that service. I mean, they keep it on the down low partly because it's a very small project and it's a matter of great kind of privacy for the people that are actually using the service and so on. But I think there's a heck of a lot of value in us knowing about that service. I mean, Sal, did you know about that in Area A, or like,
No,
I sort of, it was a surprise to me. And the fact that I was able to help them from B, and like public transportation is a pretty important priority in our world. And so that was a piece of information. So in that way, I think, yes, the Friendship Center ticks all the boxes because we can learn from them and they don't know necessarily who we are either. So I think that dialogue is very valuable. So yes, 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 and yes. And if they looked at our action plan here, the one that we're working on, they may have some other programs that aren't even mentioned or that we might be able to assist with, or that we should know about at the very least. Am I making sense here?
So would this be done by at the staff level, or would this be done by committee members? This reach out, like, is this who would be doing this?
Is that something that we have to decide now?
Well, I'm just trying to get an understanding of this. This is a lot of work. So I'm just trying to get an understanding of what the workload is here.
I think what's important to me is that this is necessary, and then how it gets done in the future is something that we'll have to figure out. So I think that what I'm saying here is that this is a list that I think is important for the reasons that Vivian outlined. And then how we're going to get it done is the next phase, because we're going into that phase of figuring out what we're prioritizing for actions. So I think we should just decide on the concept that this is an important list and an important actions for the related organizations. And then we should figure out the how after. And I know that it goes hand in hand, but to me, it's definitely, I don't want to not accept it just because it's a lot of work. Like, I feel like it's an important piece of making sure that these action items are reported on and that we know what's going on in the community. So I do want to fully disclose that this is not probably a complete list, that there will be additions that will need to be made. Like, I noticed the Bridge River Valley Community Association isn't on this list, and it absolutely needs to be on here. So there's going to be things that need to be added. But as far as having the concept of organizations to invite for updates, to invite for collaboration, and to be able to review the document to help us report on what's being done, that's my main reason for the motion.
I see Sal had your hand up. Go ahead, Sal.
yeah, I think one of the keys to that is that it could actually go into the action item sheet. And that way, it's everything's there. And they could be put under the one tab of team members and organizations. And that way they're listed in there as people that could be involved in whatever action item that is. And that way it's captured there rather than a whole another sheet. That's my take on it. Because after today, we're going to actually prioritize some action items for the SLRD to work on. Like I, that request that I made regarding, what are we going to do today? And that's basically what are 3 objectives that the SLRD can work on? What 3 objectives can each area work on alone? Which ones are we going to need that all 3, Lillooet, Area A and Area B are going to work on? And it's not going to be the whole document, of course, because that's what prioritizing is all about. So my thoughts are that element that you've got there on the organizations could easily go under tab team members and organizations. And that would capture it there.
Jackie?
I actually think that some of these specific things, Sal, will get lost in the bigger document. So that's why we created a separate document. I actually picked this one hoping it would be the easiest. But unfortunately, I see how that it can be a little bit overwhelming. And it is overwhelming. I just talked to MP Brad Vies yesterday about the fact that we have so many not-for-profits in our community and how important they are and how they're all doing independent work and they're all siloed. And so it's a huge job, Kristen. You're so right. Like, it can be super overwhelming to think that we have to connect with all these groups to figure out what's going on. But in reality, that's the truth. That's the truth with what we're doing in Lillooet and how it's been going on for a lot of years. And so this is exciting, but a little bit daunting that we have, one group that's kind of the go-to, and we're trying to move forward to be having these things in one place. And so just to speak to Sal's point again, was that I feel like this is just this acknowledges that there are 3 different things that organizations need to be part of, and we don't need them to be if it's in the document and they're named, they could have one of 3 different roles or all 3. And to put it into the document, if somebody wants to tackle that logistically, that's fine. But in my brain, this separate spreadsheet helped when there was an organization listed in the action items. Then this one just further explained what we needed them for or what we wanted to do to connect with them. And that there were 3 separate things for that. So without getting too bogged down on that just seemed logistically, I think what I want to do is just acknowledge that this is an important thing, that we need to connect with these organizations to understand what's going on and to be really in the know about economic development in our community. So however we need to do that logistically, that's fine. Yeah, and as far as where it goes on the spreadsheet, I like this concept, so.
And just by the way, the Bridge River Valley Community Association is on the list, Jackie. It's just farther down. It's towards the end it says Visitor Center Gold Bridge or BVRCA. So the motion is to accept the second, sorry, Jackie, was the tables that were developed in line with the document?
My wording was to accept the list of organizations and then basically to either invite for, it's basically the three headers, either to invite for updates and information and reporting, to invite, to discuss, to collaborate, or to review the document actions. So basically there were three. So motion to accept the list of organizations for 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so I feel like that's, oh, Kristen, sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify, when I say it's a lot of work, so just so everyone knows the process, like all these are recommendations to the board, and then it goes to the board for ratification. And when I say it's a lot of work, I mean that the staffing levels of the organization currently do not have somebody that could do all this work. So that piece would have to be sorted out. Is who is the person to make all this contact? If it is indeed a staff duty that ultimately is what goes to the board, is that piece has to be sorted out, because it's all great to say we're going to do this, but at this point we have no capacity for this level of work, like reaching out to 30 organizations and these meetings and that sort of thing. So when I say it's a lot of work, I say like that's the context within which I'm looking at this.
Jackie?
I totally understand. I work for a not-for-profit that has 25 partners, so I'm fully aware and totally understand. What I envision is that when we get through the action items, we sort the document, we get the prioritization, then the one that relates, the organizations that relate to that particular prioritized action item could be the one that we do that work with. So we don't, so basically the next steps with the top three things for our committee to work on would logistically connect to this document. We would say, oh, that's action 6.2. It relates to the Friendship Center, the SLRD, Split Rock, and somebody else. We're not going to tackle 30 all at once. Okay.
Okay, so hearing that, then I can second that motion and we can ask for a vote. And if you're in favor, you don't have to put up your hand. And if you're opposed, you should say so. And seeing none, then that will be accepted. Understanding that that's part of our overall planning and we're not intending to do all of this before the next meeting or in any, that will fall out of our priorities. Sal?
Yeah, intention of what I was just talking about earlier about, prioritizing. If there's an action item in area A alone, then I'm going to be the lead on it and I'm going to work on it. I don't anticipate SLRD staff to work on it. We're going to hopefully come out of this today with 3 action items for the SLRD to work on, and then bring back any reports that we have back to this committee, any updates. And in the interim, if I've got something to do with the Vote 40 or the early, it's my duty to, as a lead in area A, because I'm going to be the only one working on it, to contact the relevant ministry people and have my communications with them on that topic, and then bring back what I find out. Unless, what we're talking about, invite for updates and information, and invite to discuss collaboration, unless we deem fit that we would like that ministry person or whoever that contact is to come to the meeting, one of our meetings. We only have 4 meetings a year, so in my take, it's on it. Whoever the lead is will be doing the communications and then reporting back.
Jackie, you have your hand up? Yep.
Yeah, I think logistically we can sort out exactly how that's going to work moving forward once we get the action items prioritized. I think we haven't quite gotten to, I'd like to see the sorted spreadsheet and then whether we're going to just have the top 3 for the committee or whether there's going to be specific things, because that, like Kristen said, and the District of Lillooet will have their same take, as their capacity to actually work on items from this committee will depend on staff capacity. But I'm hoping there's stuff that's going on already that we know about. That sort of segues nicely to my next action item that I'd like, or my motion that I'd like to propose, which is I'd like to propose all the changes that Director Burt's Jones and I have in the document be accepted, except for 10. So I have a list of specific ones that I feel still need review by the committee or by staff. And I can list them out, but basically the concept is whatever's in there now, I'd like it to be accepted. So we're looking at this a bit differently. Instead of going line by line, I would like to accept the changes that are made, given that I'm hoping most people have looked at the document and have specific action items they'd like to discuss, and not go over each of them one by one like we did last time.
Okay. Jeremy, Lori, Karen, Sal, how are you guys feeling about that? Sal?
I think we save that till the very end, because there may be some more changes of today's meeting. And once we go through all the ones that everybody hopefully will recommend for the prioritization process, there may be some changes there. I know in a couple instances where it says support, that some of that wording needs to be changed to fund, that me and Karen worked through. So, we could do it that way. I'd rather see it that way than just upfront going through it or, approving it right now.
Yeah, we're looking through notes here too, and we've got a number of modifications being suggested in our own notes. So I don't think we're able to accept all of them at this point.
I was over at Barb's last week, and we went through this document line by line, and she made a lot of changes, but she can't be here today. So I just think that she should be a part of that too before we accept it.
Okay, then which, shall we go back? Can we go back to, and thank you guys for that. And I'm also really happy that you actually have had time to look at it and have some changes to suggest. I would like to get to those and finish the work that we're going to do on this. I'm seeing a big smile from the district office. Okay. Is that good? Can we do that? And Patricia, are you ready to share the screen? No? Or?
Vivian?
Yes. Yes.
So are we going to go through the same thing we did last time? So we're going like action item by action item? Or are we just going to go like identify, sorry, landline. Are we going through the action items that we specifically have? Like, is there, what's the process? Because it was really hard for me to go through line by line last time. I think it was extremely inefficient.
Yeah. Yeah. I will agree with you that that was kind of painful. And I'm just really happy people, like, we've all spent some time on this now, right? So we should be able to say, so if we start, like, the pages are numbered, right? Are your pages numbered, everybody? Are we all on the same document? Same page?
Pages aren't great digitally, Vivian. We have to go use the action item numbers that we put in there. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm sorry, can I just, I'm not sure that, happy to take some direction on this, but sharing the screen is not, because I'm also taking notes as, like I'm writing physical notes as well, and then typing on this Excel document, which I don't know. I'm happy to have some guidance on that, but I'm not sure that it will be super helpful to share my screen because I'm actually making edits on that document, if that makes sense. But Kristen, what are your thoughts on that? I just feel like, and now having heard that, Director Weeb has gone through and has some, I just feel like that we're now having several versions of the document, and that is really hard and difficult to track. And in my working document, I have not had the time to go back and add any of the written notes that I had made. So I just feel like we're getting a little, it's starting to feel a little messy.
Sal, I see your hand up.
I think, the email that was sent to everybody on July 13th, where I requested everybody come up with 3 objectives and so on and so forth. I think I can start. And if we do that, then each group can do the same thing. And from there, we can finalize the whole, what we're actually going to work on.
Jackie?
I don't feel that we're ready for that, Sal, because a lot of the changes that Vivian and I addressed were the actual time frame. So when we were going through it, you probably noticed we adjusted the action item time frame from a different short-term, long-term, immediate to a different one based on what we knew or thought was appropriate. And so I feel that there may be other people that have changes to specific action items for timeline, time frame. So for all of us to just sort our document, and especially if we're not, if an action item doesn't fully reflect kind of any one of the perspectives and the knowledge of what is actually occurring, say the District of Lillooet has something that's already happening and they want to make sure that action item is a little bit more, is the wording is properly done. And then I have a couple questions, and so does Vivian, on a couple of these action items where they're duplicates, say for the ag plan. Well, I'd like to remove them. So I think that work needs to be addressed before we do any sorting at all. And that's what I'm saying, is that it would be great. I've got 10. I mean, if the district wants to start and say which ones they have issues with, that we could just see if it's something we all think is fine, then go for it. And then the 10 that we have identified here are just finding out whether they're duplicates, most of them, and then a couple questions for staff that we could address that. I just don't want to go back to the changes that Vivian and I have suggested. I'm hoping that now that you guys have had a chance to look at those suggested changes and you have either said fine or you've flagged them to discuss here.
What we did was go through the ones that we want to action and prioritize them.
Okay.
By groups.
Okay, then maybe, because if we've got something with from Barb through Lori and with Jeremy here, let's start there and have those amendments. So the document that Patricia's working on is the one that's brought forward from the last meeting, but that you still want to make notes on, and you're going to make some more notes on based on this meeting, right? And can't hear you, Patricia.
Sorry, I was just saying that was my understanding. But
Is that good with everybody? So we won't have something to look at on the screen. That's totally fine. But we'll just give Patricia our amendments, and hopefully till we're finished within, like, it's 5 after 11. I'm really watching this clock. We did say we'd have 3 hours, but I feel like that's cruel and unusual punishment, but I still think let's try and do the best we can here in a couple of, okay. All right, so District of Lillooet, please proceed with your changes, comments, additions.
Okay, so Barb and I went over a few of these, and I'll just give an example to one. We marked 4.0 aesthetics, so 4.2B is consider landscape center.
Hold on. Okay, give us a chance to catch up to you.
Okay, so 4.2B.
Yes,
Okay, so consider landscape center medium or other design modifications through downtown Lillooet and incorporate in long-term capital planning. So her comments were we are going to do the OCP kickoff. That would kind of go with us. Every green space that we have requires water and it also requires maintenance, which we don't have the staff to do. And our main street is Modi. It's the Ministry of Transportation. It's not us. So we just kind of felt that that one should not really be in here because it really doesn't pertain to something that this group could do.
totally. So we are going to cross out landscape center median and we'll enhance pedestrian friendly nature of communities in the Northern SLRD. So consider, how about just design modifications through downtown Lillooet and then reference the OCP.
Sure, that would work.
Does that work?
Yes.
Okay, Jackie gave me a thumbs up. All right, okay, I'm on a roll here.
Yeah, just trying to simplify.
Okay, got that, Patricia? OCP, check. Thank you.
Check. Okay, and while we're here, the very next one, 4.3A, identify view corridors and signature viewscapes. Well, that is with signage and pullouts, and a lot of our pullouts have been, again, our Ministry of Transportation, and a lot of our pullouts really are no longer, so.
What's in the downtown area? That's part of the downtown plan, which will fall from our OCP.
And that would kind of go with the OCP too. Whatever we have as pullouts, like right across from the highways there. That's still Ministry of Transportation and Highways, but
So
it's
that's
not
it.
really something that this committee would really, I don't know.
No, this is totally belongs to the District of Lillooet and your OCP and the Ministry of Transportation. We
Right.
should add Ministry of Transportation to the right column, but we can add the viewscapes under 4.2B because I think the point is just that the pedestrian have a more pleasant experience and right.
But like I said, I don't know where we're actually looking at.
We can get rid of that
Because we
one.
already have the benches that go along right across from the
Yep.
highways. It's already kind of put into place across at the junction. When you first come down off Highway 99 North, before,
Well-
right at the junction, like there's benches there that they're already pullouts and.
Hold on, Jackie wanted to say something, and I think she's going to tell us not to get into the details here.
Yeah, sorry, Lori. I totally understand where you're coming from, but I think what's done is just identifying, and she's here, which is great. So we can say to her, what did you mean by this? And can we identify it that it's being done in another process? So Jeremy might be able to speak to this, is that if those two things for making sure that we have, viewscapes and pedestrian friendly things happening in our OCP in district, which is important to people in tourism and economic development when they come here, then let's just make reference to the things that are already occurring and just modify the action so that when we're looking for updates on whether this action is being done, then we know we have to go to the OCP to see that, oh yeah, that's already being taken care of.
Yeah, the items that have been discussed so far are part of, I mean, they'll be based on the OCP and just good planning practices. And there may eventually be a downtown plan following the OCP. But I mean, I'm glad they're identified because they are important. But they're sort of standard practice for local government to be thinking about when we're talking about planning.
So I think the background knows, Suzanne, is that coming? Are you playing the radio there?
No, it's not me.
Oh, okay. But are you okay? Does that make sense to you if the viewscapes and design modifications in terms of enhancing the pedestrian friendly nature, that is something that's going to be considered and discussed as part of the OCP, right?
Yes, that makes sense.
So then Lori, is it okay just to identify it as that and leave that there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just trying to simplify.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's great.
Should it also be changed from short-term to long-term?
Or
I guess.
ongoing.
Well, we were thinking about that too, Lori, but then we decided the ongoing term was too hard, that would be equivalent to the long term. We were using Suzanne's language and keeping it the same. So long term seems to be the ongoing equivalent.
Okay.
Well, if it's about identifying the viewing corridors, that is short term. That'll be done in the next year.
Okay. So then leave that short term, but MOTI needs to be added as well as the official community plan to all of those considerations.
Just because a lot of people forget our main street is the Ministry of Transportation and not the.
I know. Okay. Is everyone good on that point? Patricia? Yep, okay. Oh, Kristen?
Thank you. So we'll remove the SLRD from that, the lead column. Do you want that to be District of Lillooet and you want MOTI referred to there?
Yes.
Unless there's other downtowns in the SLRD.
Where the SLRD comes in is farther down, I think, 4.4A, for example. So we can take SLRD out of that one though. Yes. Where if it's the district, it's the district.
Are there other downtowns that are in the SLRD that this still applies to?
Downtown Yalicum, downtown Golf Course, no.
So I'm just, so in call on line 32 of that document, 4.3A, the lead organization, we're going to delete SLRD from there. Correct?
Correct.
And add MOTI in there. Or
MOTI would actually be a stakeholder that we have to engage.
yeah,
They won't be leading it, we'll be leading,
No.
but they do need to be referred to.
yeah. So I'm just going to take SLRD out and leave it as District of Lillooet. Is that okay?
Good.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
Can I just ask a question? When we do that, when we go over to the organization list, under MODI highways contractor, are we to add 4.3 and like under the organization, it's got 2.1 right now. Know what I mean? Like on the organization list, under Ministry of Transportation Highways Contractor Dawson, and then related action or information needed 2.1, would we have to add 4.3 as well?
I would say no, because I think we just leave it with the District of Lillooet. They're going to deal with this. And they're going to deal with MOTI as they see fit. I don't see the point of adding it there.
Okay.
Jackie?
The way that we created that document, with the organizations, was including so District of Lillooet has to have MOTI, like Lori says, so I would add that action item. If we were all to be gone the next day, tomorrow, and all move on to other jobs, this document is the document that the new people would go to and would know. And of course, hopefully the District of Lillooet know that MOTI is the main, but I want to make sure that it all gets captured. So I don't see why it's just an easy thing just to put it on there.
And SLRD isn't completely free and clear of signage and aesthetics and the sense of arrival of communities in the Northern SLRD. So at the top, like we're working on the portal signs now, for example, those actually are in Area B. So the SLRD still has some role in this.
Sorry, which item are you referring to specifically, Chair?
Just 4.0. The
4.2. Right, I'm just kind of going line by line here. And
Right.
I think we're still up there in,
4.1
yeah.
E. So sorry, I think we're all good there, and I'm waiting for Lori for your next one from Barb, or your,
Okay, so she's got 5.1. And she has that is part of the East Lillooet Garden Project.
Lori, is she trying to refer to a current trails strategy that's in place in the district? Because if she says, if she's just making a note that there's work being done, that's
I
great.
think that she's just making a note actually on that one.
Okay.
That there's probably just work being done. I don't know if she wanted it added to it or not. She's made, yeah. Yeah, she's made a few just notes like, all right, let's go with this one, 5.5B. That one's the water, sewer and other services in anticipation of residential development would all be District of Lillooet under our OCP and a new water advisory committee that we're trying to host and lead up. And I think, again, she's just making a comment that is the District of Lillooet, like it says, and just kind of trying to map those things out. So don't.
Sounds like it's an action.
So it's an actions taken. I would put it under actions taken in that category, which is an awesome, I love that. And then then measures of success could be committee struck,
Right.
and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yay, I love it. We put something in there. Phew.
The next one, she made a comment, 6.1A, to support the efforts of the Statland communities to design, construct, and operate a cultural center. We are currently working on that too. The mayor's working with Susan James, and ironically, I have been working, and I just got the plans, I picked them up today, of the cultural center, 3 different plans, I believe, that are in here that were done years ago, and they spent thousands of dollars doing it. So I've been working on trying to figure out who actually had the plans and why reinvent the wheel. So that's, I know that you guys have removed long-term, but that is something, like I said, that we're still working on, and we're hoping to develop a cultural center at some point.
So add to actions taken. And do you think the only thing that we're suggesting remove is the Stadtlium as the lead? Because
Right, so that
yeah.
could be us. The mayor is working on it.
Yeah. Perfect. We can add more there then.
Yes. And long-term.
Karen, hi. Go ahead, Karen Playfair.
Hi, I just want to understand what we mean exactly when we say support. Because we use support a lot, and I think Sal mentioned this at the beginning, and it's probably because I harped on this when Sal and I met. But is that financially support? Is that we have conversations, because I genuinely feel if you say support, you really aren't saying anything. You need to be really clear as what support looks like. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. And I see Suzanne has her hand up, and Jackie was almost ready too.
Oh, my hand's up in the sun here. I just want to maybe bring the group up to speed on where that support is at, because the support, I hear what you're saying, Karen. It is important to define what support means. But I think the choice of the word support is important because, of course, a cultural center showcasing the Stadtlium culture and as a place where Stadtlium community members can celebrate their culture is only something we can support. It's not something we can lead. It is their cultural center. But in terms of support, with the leadership of the mayor and others on council, thank you for getting those plans. That's fabulous. We have been pursuing grant opportunities to be able to undertake the business planning and look at the financial side of a cultural center, because that's something that the Stadtlium communities themselves obviously want to understand. These facilities, some of them, if they're very grand and large, can come with a significant operating subsidy on an annual basis. And of course, nobody wants to go into that and be surprised. So if there is to be an operating subsidy to be carried by Stadtlium communities or others, then that's something to be determined up front. And so with the support of the Lillooet Tribal Council, we've worked with Jim MacArthur there as well, and have secured one grant. One is confirmed, one is pending, and one we will apply for in the next month. And that's going to allow the business planning and financial risk assessment to proceed. Hopefully as well with some additional community engagement and informed by all the past work and all the past studies that's already been done on this cultural center, because it has been talked about for many, many years. And it's a vision that many have held for quite some time.
And this is super exciting initiative, and I just want to stay softly in the background as a committee and as Area B, but I do want to support. And in this case, support's the perfect word. Okay, Jackie, sorry.
Oh, no problem. I agree with both, actually. I feel that when we can, we should be offering a more specific word. And when we can't, in this case, I believe that support offers the opportunity to be flexible. So you're not financially tying yourself to something because that's always scary. But we're also saying support could mean writing a letter of support. Like literally, it could be a scale from, as little as something just an hour worth of staff time up to, depending on staff capacity, writing grants and all the rest of it. And if we can be more specific, I think we should be. So in this case, this one's let's be less specific, but as we go through, can we make sure that we look at the ones that have that word in it and see if we can't be more specific?
Thank you. This is Good news. Okay, Lori, yes. Next.
Oh, let me see. I got all wrapped up on that one. Okay, 6.2B. Let me see. So that was continue to support the efforts of the Bridge River Valley Communication Association, Economic Development Committee and Tourism Promotion Activities. And that was under SLRD and District of Lillooet. So just saying that we did agree to give $10,000 to Lillooet Tourism. So I don't know if we did, that was just a side note that we made. So I don't know, and that was an immediate. If that it's done, we can take it off. I don't know.
No. Stop. No.
Hello.
That's really good news. That's definitely a big action. Tourism Lillooet. Yep, that comes under there. So that's something that's just been done. So that's a note then. So there weren't changes to that so much as wanting to have that added as an action. Is that right, Lori?
Yeah, well, it was just under immediate, so we just weren't
Yes.
sure if that was like, what else is there to do? What else is the plan?
No, that's excellent.
And I think that basically covers it.
And Jackie have their hands up. Yep.
I'm going to defer to Karen on this one.
Oh, I just wondered, we're talking about 6.2B, which says support the efforts of the Bridge River Valley Community Association. That's not Tourism Lillooet. Are we talking about 6.3B, work with Tourism Lillooet, BRVCA?
6.2A.
Oh, 6.2A.
I don't have a
Yeah.
6.2A.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and we just marked it on the wrong one. Sorry, my mistake.
Patricia, are you with that one? 6.2.
Sorry.
And I kind of cut Lori off, but I think she was saying that she was finished. You guys have to forgive me for managing this. It's kind of tricky doing this Zoom sharing.
So, here's one quick note on 8.1B.
So hold on and give us a chance to get there.
Yes.
Mike, it's at 8.
Yeah, so 8.1B, advocate for additional health services based on Lillooet through Interior Health. So I'm actually working on that with Interior Health to bring assisted living back into into Lillooet. So
Yeah.
I don't know how that goes with the lead in there.
So district.
Yeah, we can put a district of Lillooet / Interior Health.
Got
And
it.
you work for both of them, you know?
No, this is why, you know, Kristen goes, oh my God, 30 organizations. But I think, yeah, but each one of us is probably connected, 6 of them. We gotta know who the players are, and we could get a lot of this done in the parking lot at Bilo. It just, that's
Yeah.
really good news. So
I'm working on it.
so the district's working with Interior Health and you're working on assisted living
Yes.
services here. increased services.
Right, so we used to have assisted living, but they were taken out. I understood it was from BC Housing and Interior Health, like a mutual kind of thing, but I think I've since found out that I can get it reinstated through Interior Health should they agree to it. So I'm working on my prospective letter to show that we have that missing link in Lillooet. Hopefully they'll listen.
Bravo. Kristen?
Thank
Yes.
you. So I've just added that as an action item, an action taken. Is that what we're doing with that specific 8.1B? I've added that action taken, correct? District of Lillooet working with Interior Health to bring assisted living back to Lillooet.
Correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yes, yeah,
And that's it for me.
thank you. Okay, so logically, I think we should ask Area A again. Just for, or Jeremy, I'm sorry, before I leave the District of Lillooet. Jeremy?
Yes. Sorry, what?
Do you have any serious errors or omissions in this document that you would like to be addressed at this round of, you may be asked to forever hold your peace if
No, I don't, because I'm taking the perspective on it that it's more about identifying the things that we're trying to tackle as communities. And that, you know, when we're talking over the next few years, like these things all have to go through the process of strategic planning for our councils. Or the board, if it's the SLRD. So I'm not too worried at this point. I went into it and freaking out about the resourcing of all these items, and then realized we're not making those commitments at this point. We're just trying to identify it. We'll break it down. We'll be bringing this document into our strategic planning processes over the coming years, so the council knows that when we're talking about one of these things, whether it's downtown revitalization or not, that it's in a larger context. And okay, I can see it aligning with what other communities are doing and what the SLRD is working on. So my previous trepidations about this have been assuaged by the realization we're just trying to understand what the challenges are at this point. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you. So now for Area A. And Karen.
Yeah, okay. What we did, we prioritized and I made some comments on each one of them. So for the SLRD that we want the SLRD to lead is 1.18. So that you guys get to it. To me, it's important to all three areas. And is this on the SLRD work plan, such as the community forums? Is my comment.
Is
So,
our community to community forums on the work plan? Is that question? That's
Yeah.
the question?
Yeah, it's a question.
Yeah, Patty, I would say yes, they are, but we have not had a staff member in that capacity for the last year and a bit.
Okay, to me, it's immediate. You know, I wasn't part of it, and I don't think any of the others on this committee were part of that process in the past. So it's important that we move forward with this.
Sal, I was fortunate enough to be pulled into a community forum. I think it was November. And I was just speaking with Jim MacArthur. That seems like years ago. But there was some positive momentum on the cultural center, which I think is kind of happening now, that those are really important meetings for us. And the reluctance of the First Nations to gather right now, like, well, all of us with COVID, but there's like super sensitivities on the reserves. I'm not sure how they're doing the meetings and things there. Maybe people know more about that than I do. I get it, though, it's at the top of your list.
Well, yeah, all I'm doing is identifying who the lead should be. Because that's what Kristen wanted. What can the SLRD work on? What do you want the staff to work on? That's one of two that we have.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
The
Meeting forums, okay, got it.
next one is 1.1B, and it's a comment. What we really need right now is an economic recovery plan for COVID. And we do have our community futures. I didn't put anybody's name to it, but it's just a comment. And it's immediate. It's more immediate than anything that we have really, is what are we going to do for economic recovery from COVID? We're still in COVID, but we do have some organizations out here in the valley doing partial openings.
Jackie, go ahead.
So Sal, this is 1.1B, then were you identifying that this type of a working group, that would be the first priority of the working group then, is the recovery? And how could we incorporate that into this specific action, given that this is like a long-term document and we're really hoping COVID is short-term, but how can we nest this in without losing it? Because I feel that it is very pertinent.
Yeah, it could be one of the action items underneath it. Very easily.
Okay, yeah.
The question is, who's going to take the lead on it?
And what's already happening, and that's the most important question, like,
Yeah.
we know the chamber is doing some work. I don't know about Tourism-Lillooet. So did you want that added? Patricia, are you following Sal there? Okay, okay.
So we're just going to add it in under the working group and then just bump everything down. So it'll be 1.1C, and then we're just going to bump everything else down there. Is that right? Does that make sense? And could it be broader than this, Sal? Like, we're basically, as a committee, addressing that there is going to be emergencies, even like wildfire within the region, the northern region, that could affect our whole region. That when we're talking emergency situations, then recovery, or do you want this specific to COVID?
Yeah, this has got to be specific to COVID. And it could be that each area works on their own. And like our Economic Development Committee, BRBC Economic Development Committee could be working on it. Or we can combine with the Lillooet Chamber of Commerce and the BRBC Economic Development Committee, and they could work on a plan together.
Okay, makes sense.
Okay, so that's an addition.
I don't know if you want to make a separate column for it.
Or does it just belong with that 1.1B?
Yeah.
Because it says create a Northern SLRD. Well, we've already done that. So.
Yeah, they could have that as a action item.
Yeah.
I didn't give a lead to it. So, it could be something that the SLRD leads. I'm not sure how many others that you guys, the other two groups, have prioritized for the SLRD to lead. But I've identified 2 so far. Or we could have the Community Futures, or the area representative that we have, which is, we got, I think it was Angela Bissett, and they've subcontracted Andre Kubrius for our valley. We could have that person, Community Futures, lead it, because that's a paid position. Just a thought.
Jackie?
I like the idea of having it as a separate line identifying recovery versus that the committee, because that committee, I've seen the ECDev officers used to meet as a Statliam, so all the communities would get together. So I think 1.1b is separate, that we're trying to have meetings with all the ECDev and kind of create that. But recovery planning for COVID, I think, needs to just identify all the leads, because District of Lillooet has their recovery, SLRD has their recovery, and then the action items that each of those organizations are doing can be put into this table. So I feel at this point, it's just going to be a matter of getting the information from those different organizations to know that on a regional basis, this is moving forward. And unless Sal had a different vision, that he thought there needed to be more of a coordinated effort, so that we were maybe as a committee creating the platform to have a discussion on what recovery is, how it's occurring regionally, and whether we have any input sort of regionally to collaborate in the best way possible.
Yes, exactly.
And this one is tricky because this is where the Volunteer Connect, there's a bunch of groups that are kind of hopping up and down and putting up their hands and saying, we want to be part of this. I don't think just for Patricia's sake that we need to identify what all the actions are that other groups are taking. That just turns it into a monster. The fact that other groups are working on it, I think, is all we need to say in this document. Is that okay with people? Yeah. Sort of like with the agriculture plan. We don't need to have the whole agriculture plan in here. But if we say something's being worked on by LAFs, then we have to say that with confidence. We have some sense that that's what they're working on, but we don't have to put the details of what they're doing. That's what my opinion on that anyway.
So just to clarify, Sal's asking for something though that's more of a coordinated effort and asking for one organization to take the lead on coordinating us all. So that's where I think we're up in the air right now about who's going to lead a coordinated effort. So because we have all these different pieces and recovery planning that's occurring, where as a committee we're saying, or Sal seems to be saying, that we should be trying to recover in a collaborated way, which I completely 100% support. The only thing is the lead piece is still outstanding in my mind. And so maybe that's a research thing where I like the idea of looking into whether that can be done by that paid person. So could we put that person or that organization as a question mark and then have that as an action item to figure out?
I think so. I'm pretty comfortable with that. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, Community Futures is, to me, it would be the one for sure with the paid contractor. It's a year's contract, and they should be coordinating Area B, Lillooet, and Area A.
Okay, well, we can put Community Futures question mark, but I think it needs to be left as a question mark.
Yeah.
Tricia? And see, Tricia, I can see you down.
And I can do the follow-up.
Okay. But it is another entry and it has that question beside it under, okay. Good.
The next one is 2.1D. That is actually being worked on right now, and Area A and Area B are included in it. So we do have meetings coming up with the Ministry of Transport and FLINRO. So that is being actioned. And that's Area A, Area B team leads. Next one is 3.2B. Integrated grant opportunities available to support necessary capital investment for connectivity. That is also in progress, and the SLRD is the lead on that one. I've got to change that because it got approved, and the SLRD is putting in the application.
I know, and congratulations, but that is for Minto and Area A, right?
Yeah,
Not to say that Area A is not incredibly important. We still have some problems in B. Minto, Area A, in progress, right?
yeah, and I got a question mark in the comments. I got in progress, Minto Communications, and Area B, question mark.
Okay. And I'm wondering if Marg Lampman approached me a few years ago and asked if Radio Lillooet CHLS 100.5 would make an application for some broadband funding. And I didn't understand it at the time, but yeah. I don't know anything. I mean, I know that a lot of the rural communities will be bringing this up at UBCM, but we don't have anything specifically going on for Area B or Lillooet, right? All right. Kristen?
Sorry, thank you. We also have a minister meeting on broadband connectivity for rural areas. So we can add that as an action taken.
If I may.
Okay, my next one is 5.18.
Just an update, for those, I've had 2 meetings recently, the last 2 weeks, with both Shaw and TELUS. Shaw is moving ahead with their broadband program through, well, much of the SLRD through Lillooet onto Cache Creek. They're doing a double connection from both directions so that when there's a fire, there won't be an outage again like there was a few years ago. So that project is moving ahead. It was delayed slightly because of some issues they don't want to talk about, but it is back on track, and they'll have broadband through a whole swath of the SLRD in here. Connections are occurring as we speak. They're making connections into community centers, especially for Indigenous communities. I think there's a project recently happened with a school and education center where they actually just branched off to help them out and provided them broadband for free. So do reach out to Shaw Cable. I can give you contacts there if you want. They're very eager to be expanding their network into rural communities, and they've got a lot of funding from the feds. TELUS gave up trying to do broadband through this area in 2018 because of resistance from staff and councils and so forth that were just not wanting to kick in a little bit of money. They fund 98% of the implementation. They request 2% skin in the game in the form of money from regional districts or municipalities to finish fiber to the home. And so I just spoke with them a couple days ago, and I said it's likely to occur here if they put the plan together. So yeah, if us and our neighboring Indigenous communities can put in the 2%, they'll bring true high-speed synchronous fiber to the home in the coming years. So I can give you those contacts as well, if anyone's interested. And they're of course partnering with companies like Bell and Rogers to bring out cellular services in partnership with the high-speed internet. So there is hope. And let me know if you want to talk to people, I'll put you in contact.
Well, that's pretty exciting. And I think we should do more than put that down on this really important piece of paper here. Is there something I should be doing as Miss Area B? Jeremy? Yes, I think there is.
Keep the pressure on, like, for the UBCM meetings. Good point, because we need to keep encouraging all levels of government to kick in funding and light a fire under these companies to keep on schedule. And I think there is value in reaching out to the official contacts for Shaw and Telos. They're the two big players, and let them know that your communities are open to working with them on their rollouts. They have their own hurdles of regulation and permitting, and especially Indigenous relations where they're having to go through territories. So any connections that we can help provide them to build those bridges, they are eager to talk to people who have those connections. Because they're just people too. They only know so many people, and they have a hard time getting into some of these communities and connecting with the right people who are of the right mindset, right? So hearing from folks like you, I think would be very valuable to them. They're very open-minded, they're very respectful, they're trying to work in an inter-community way with Indigenous and local governments. So yeah, I'm happy to send you the contact info after this meeting.
And to piggyback on that, in the last 6 years, every time we've gone to UBCM, 6 years ago, when we first brought up broadband services to Lillooet, we were told that that just would not happen. It was going to cost us, I think back then, $300,000 to bring it in. And they suggested that we piggyback with another community that already had it. And I believe Lytton was one that already had it. So, or we're getting it, but we just couldn't afford it at that time. But since then, we have brought it up at every single UBCM ministry meeting that we have had. So I agree, like, continue the pressure.
Yeah.
So not only am I interested in that as Area B, but Kristen, shouldn't we be interested in that as the SLRD with having those contacts? If we can do anything to facilitate this. So maybe Jeremy to both Kristen and I would be helpful. I'll totally follow it up for B, and it just might be a good resource to have on hand. And Jackie, sorry, I should let you speak. You had your hand up.
I just wanted to make sure that we put it on the organization spreadsheet. Just add, if Patricia, can you add it to the organizations? So, and then somewhere in that action item, maybe in the actions taken, that we make the note that Shaw has been contacted by the district, and further follow up with the other, like you said, area SLRD. So yeah, so there's stuff that's happening, and we just need to continue doing the same thing, the other organizations. This is really good news, but it just makes me, like, I talked to the MP about this yesterday, that we needed that. So the fact that there's federal funding from Shaw, or Shaw has federal funding, then, like, let's get our piece of that pie.
And if you can tie it to an Indigenous community in any way, then they've got access to federal funding as well, which is very powerful to combine those two. Plus it gives them more impetus to do it.
6 First Nations communities in Area B. I mean, it's hard not to be a little bit annoyed in retrospect, given some of what we've gone through with these groups in the past, but let's just leave all that in the past and go with Jeremy's optimism here. Thank you. Okay, and Sal, back to you.
Yeah, 5.1A. I'm not sure, Jackie and Vivian, on what changes you want in the actual actions. You're removing the Lillooet hiking guide out of it?
Yes.
Yeah, we're taking
Yeah.
out the word support.
Okay, so
So
develop
this-
a regional A and B Statlium Territorial Trail Strategy. And that one there is you've got it long term. I think it should be short term, but the SLRD should take the lead. I know the Sea to Sky trail strategy was developed a number of years ago, and I think there's an update coming if I'm not mistaken. So that captures the southern area, and we need a very similar in the northern SLRD to create an SLRD, a northern SLRD trail strategy. Which of course would include input from the Statlium. So I'd like the SLRD to take the lead on that one. And it's important to all three areas.
Maybe, so we have not made much progress on the trails. I don't even think we've looked at it as the SLRD, but we certainly have looked at parks. And there's a little bit of activity in Seton Shalath as well as the Texas Creek Park. Both of those are under consideration there, and there's some progress. So I don't know that we have any reference to regional parks here, but I see them as connected to the trails. So that could be it. That could be an action, Patricia, that is happening.
Vivian, I just want to support Sal's changes there. So short term makes sense to me, and the trail and that SLRD. So take the lead, and then just making the note that obviously even if we change it to SLRD being the lead, then we're gonna make sure that the capacity is there and when we're looking at the big picture and stuff. So, but yeah, I agree. I think that needs to happen.
The next one is 5.1B, and the lead should be area A.
Okay.
Next one is 6.2B.
Okay.
Sorry,
We've
sorry,
got,
sorry. Can
Okay.
I just have
Yeah.
a second to catch up? I'm just trying to make all these notes and
okay. Are you on 5.1B yet?
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Thank
Just
you.
change the lead to area A.
Meaning the area A director? Is that what you mean
Yeah.
by the, okay.
Sure, yeah.
Thanks, Sal. Okay, how are you doing, Patty? Are you caught up?
Okay, 6.2B, continue to support the efforts of Bridge River Valley Community Association, Economic Committee and Tourism Promotion, etc. That one there, I've got the lead to be Area A, Area B, and the District of Lillooet. It's important to all three areas. And the comment I've got is managing tourism due to lack of government resources. There's a need to promote each other's events on calendars and coordinate event dates.
So that's somewhere else in the document, we talk about being each other's ambassadors.
Yes, yeah.
Those lines too. So coordinating calendars. Now, we do have the Lillooet Area Library Association calendar. There's a pretty good resource there for us. Just in terms of coordinating events, that was one of the main reasons it was designed. And that certainly covers Area A, B, and Lillooet. Should that be noted as a resource?
Sure, but somebody has to, like, I'm not sure if it's the little library that reaches out to the BRVCA or the BRVCA reaches out to them for the events. But it's,
You have to put
but
them
we
in
still need
yourself,
to
Sal.
promote each other's.
The actual promotion piece has to be the individual organizations or governments doing that. So it means that District of Lillooet would share the BVRCA's and vice versa and social media. But the actual calendar thing as a tool means that each of the organizations go to the calendar and they insert their events and make sure there's no overlap. So it's a tool so that those things can be coordinated. So the two, so that could be added, Vivian, as an action taken. I mean, it was a long time ago now, which is great, but the calendar was created because we wanted to make sure events didn't overlap. So
Yep.
I would say that I would definitely say that the calendar should be noted as actions taken.
And Sal, were you saying that rather than the SLRD being listed, that it should be Area A, Area B, and District of Lillooet?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
Vivian, I just had a question about that though, because isn't this committee just Area A and B? Or, oh, so you're saying that the difference between just saying SLRD and that means that SLRD refers to the board or the staff
the
or?
staff, yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah. But maybe
But did
Karen, you could talk a little bit about the government resources for tourism.
I just want to say though too, that the District of Lillooet does do their social media. So it is actually staff that would be tasked with that, not the District of Lillooet representatives. So like the politicians. So I would sure, as a person, I would share that stuff as an alternate, but definitely those things like the website and the social media channel and all that, that's definitely staff. In my opinion.
Yeah, well, I totally agree, but it would just, for the purpose of the lead, I think that, Area A, I could have BRVCA action it or someone else action it. So when we say the SLRD, we mean staff. When we're saying the District of Lillooet, it could be staff also. Doesn't have to be the one of the counselors.
And I think, Karen, you were going to say something?
Well, I wasn't sure what I was going to say other than to the extent that from a social media and website perspective specific to Tourism Lillooet, yes, Tourism Lillooet has received funding to expand the social media presence through using a contractor. And actually Suzanne has been incredibly helpful in getting that whole project going. So that is sort of underway, but that's not necessarily specific to coordinating events and that kind of thing. Although I guess that is a possibility in the same way as BRVCA would potentially add something to a greater area calendar to say this is when this is happening, or could be connecting with whoever the right people are to say, when are you doing your event? Is that what you're talking about, Sal? That's what we were addressing, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Suzanne?
I would just share with the group some of the thinking that went into this when the report was written. There's also an action item just a little bit further down. Let me find the number here for you, 6.5A. And it was the intention of that action item, although perhaps it's not clear from the wording, that the Tourism-Lillooet and the BRVCA work to coordinate various festivals and events in not just in terms of what's already happening, but also rising up to a more strategic level and thinking, well, what could we do collaboratively so that there is no overlap, but we're also building on each other's events and creating more reasons for visitors to come and stay longer and to spend a night or two in Lillooet and then take Road 40 and spend a night or two in the Bridge River Valley. So just wanted to bring the group to 6.5A because I think the discussion is also somewhat related to that item.
Thank you, Suzanne. And actually, we can add the Lillooet area calendar, Lillooet area library calendar, and Tourism Lillooet as actioning sort of some of that. So my phone's dinging and Jackie's phone is.
Okay, my next item is
Yes.
6.4A. Ensure visitor center in Lillooet and visitor info booth in Goldbridge are knowledgeable of each other's. And I've got that as Area A, Area B, and the District of Lillooet also as the leads. I
Yes.
think we have because there has been some talk of the Lillooet info center or visitor center actually mentioning to people that Road 40 is a terrible road. So we need to get the different employees of each of them visiting each other so that they understand what's out there and look and see what so they can both promote each other. And that's why, to me, it's important that that whoever's promoting each other's understand what the areas that they're promoting are all about.
Yes. And that's where the line is about become each other's ambassador.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. Welcome back, Jackie. And
The next one is 6.4B. This is very similar. And again, I've got Area A, Area B, and the District of Lillooet. It's important to all three areas.
so just for Patricia's sake, then, when you say that, that means that SLRD can come off there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's blindingly obvious to everyone else.
And my comment is especially tourist info centers. And there was a question there that Jackie and Vivian, you put in. Is this in the tourism plans, including District of Lillooet, Caribou, Chilcotin, and the Gold Country?
Yeah, this was a question that, is this already in those plans and so that either there's, we need to link it to the plans or, yes, I think that this seems to be something we should find out whether it's already there so that we can connect with those plans for actions taken.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they have training.
So is that something that, oh, Suzanne's got her hand up.
That's okay. I can wait. I was just going to say I'm familiar with what Triple CTA in particular supports, and there's nothing specific to support that kind of familiarization tour. In past years, there have been some grant applications. Like I think a couple of years back, there was such a familiarization tour, but it's always been initiated more locally. So at the District of Lillooet Area A level, and I don't believe it's in Sun Country or Gold Country's tourism plans either. I mean, they would obviously be very supportive of it and think it's a great idea, but they don't, to my knowledge, have specific funding. So we would have to go out and find the funding to allow that to happen at a more local and SLRD Area A, Area B level.
Yep, Jackie, go ahead.
So this makes, I've figured out what this one is about more. So this did happen. The Chamber of Commerce has initiated and completed familiarization tours.
Yeah.
So we can say those actions are taken and maybe we're adding them somewhere. Team members, maybe team members or something. And we could take off the question, and that means, yeah, I can mark that off my list.
Well, it is an annual thing though. Like it's your visitor center staff in particular, not always, but often are changing. So it is kind of a forever thing if you're looking at visitor centers in particular. And if you want to extend that to frontline service providers. So, I mean, picture the server in the restaurant at Tyax, you know, post-COVID, obviously, but, you know, chatting with the guests at Tyax and saying, oh, well, when you head through Lillooet, be sure and stop at Abundance Bakery. It's a great place to grab a coffee and a muffin. So it's meant to be, it should start with your visitor center staff, absolutely, but it's meant to be all frontline, anyone who's interacting with visitors so that, you know, they're telling the stories of the area and encouraging visitors to stay longer and try and visit other businesses and other experiences that we can offer them.
So Tourism Lillooet or the Chamber of Commerce or the ECDEV, like, so it sounds like those are more sort of lead organizations than maybe our district and SLRD. Does that make more sense? And like you said, the visitor center. That box is very full. Can we make it?
I would just like to put Area A, Area B, and District of Lillooet as leads.
I was thinking that it would, okay.
And then from there, you build the team members and the organizations that are actually going to be part of that. But somebody's got to take the lead.
Well, the Chamber of Commerce has taken the lead in the past for this area, including Area B.
Yep. The chamber has done this, and I would think Tourism Lillooet.
I feel like what do you think, Karen? Would like, to me, an organization like Tourism Lillooet, once it becomes like destination management organization, would be a good idea. But if for now, if you're saying we don't really have that in place, then we should leave it as Area A, B, and the District of Lillooet. I'm not too sure. I'll leave that to you guys to figure out.
I would think, Jackie, that the tourism association or whoever's doing economic development / tourism in either, that those organizations would take the lead on that. That is typically a chamber or tourism development organization role. So, and even with the limited capacity that we have at Tourism Lillooet, there's still probably a chance of, you know, working with the group to assist that versus a local government. I don't see a local government necessarily leading that, but that's my 2 cents.
So at least Patricia can take SLRD out of there, right? Areas A, District of Lillooet, and I think we should mention Tourism Lillooet, BCV, BRC, BRVCA, etc. Like, I think that yes, it's an ongoing process.
And we
Okay,
can do
one of the issues I've got with that is, I'm not sure if you guys are all familiar with RACI. Who's responsible, who's accountable, who do you communicate with, and who's informed. And the way I set this little chart up is who's the lead, so who's accountable, and then from that, who's responsible to make it happen, who's the team lead, and the next piece is the team members and organizations. So who are you going to work with to make it happen? So, and again, it's who's the lead, so who's accountable. So that's where I say Area A and Area B in District of Lillooet. Who's the team lead? Who's going to make all the communications to make that action item happen? And who are all the team members? I mean, that's how I've worked in the past with things like this, and because somebody in the end has to come back to this committee, whether it's Tourism Lillooet or whoever the lead is going to be, to come back and say, yeah, this is what we're doing.
I think Sal's got it. I agree with all that. That it's perfect the way that that's laid out. I think what we're just saying is that we think that probably Tourism Lillooet should be the lead versus the government on this point, unless the district thinks that they would take the lead for this, because it's line staff training program for all businesses. So anyways, I don't want to get hung up too much on that. I still think it's a really good thing to do, but we could, yeah, I still think it's probably a tourism organization that would take the lead on this kind of stuff versus a government staff. And maybe somebody on government can tell us. Somebody in the staff, I should say.
I'll tell you what, Area A can take the lead, and the team lead could be Tourism Lillooet or the Chamber of Commerce.
That works.
Because then I could talk to them and make it happen.
Oh, Kristen?
Sorry, Sal, can you just say that again?
The lead will be Area A. And the team lead will be did you want the Chamber of Commerce or the Tourism Lillooet?
Well, at this point, let's say the Chamber of Commerce, simply because we have no paid ED at Tourism Lillooet, but we'd
Yeah.
certainly be part of that, hopefully, and the Chamber would reach out to us for assistance.
May I jump in? I'm a little concerned about saying that a lead is someone who's not actually under the jurisdiction of SLRD or any local government. We are here representing local governments.
Yeah.
So it is, I would think, for the purposes of this discussion in this document, it should fall, I think, with a governmental body of some sort. So the District of Lillooet, for example, got an NDIT grant to get Suzanne Denbach, who led the charge on getting a report to council to get funding to help Tourism Lillooet to do the destination promotion. So I think it should, in this document, still be on an SLRD area or a local community that has to take the lead, at least in an official capacity. It might not do the work, but it's the one who has to be accountable in some way to this document and to this committee. I don't think it's fair to ask a nonprofit organization to report back for something that's in a strategy of an SLRD committee, right? So I think they should be named as partners at most. And we as a government, we know will exist 50 years from now. I don't know if Tourism Lillooet or Chamber will exist in the way that they do right now. They could change, they could merge, they could change names. We don't know, but Lillooet will always be here and will always have a responsibility to promote tourism. My thoughts.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's really helpful. Yes, Kristen?
Thanks. So that's Area A as the team lead, is the lead, and the chamber. So how,
No,
Area A,
AB in District of Lillooet.
goes back to that. Okay. And, sorry, one other thing. The question there, are we clearing that question off of 6.4B?
That's my understanding that Suzanne said that they don't because she's familiar with them.
Yeah, so I'm going to delete that.
Perfect.
Thank you.
We also agreed, though, I think we can reference the Chamber and Tourism Lillooet as like partners in this, but not having ultimate responsibility. Right. Sal? Next.
I had one on 10.1A,
Well done.
and our contractor is setting that up, and that's Suzanne Denbeck with our local mining company. So I don't know what the other areas are doing, Lillooet or Area B, but it's something that we've got on the go already.
So I think so we can add Area A, setting up a meeting with mining, right? As
Yes.
as an action that's happening. I think Area A has the most mining activity, but it's still important everywhere.
So Area A is the team lead.
Okay. Um,
12.1A,
Sorry,
it's important.
sorry, 12.1A?
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
and in red, you've got concern is there a committee already? Don't want too many committees. I have to agree with that, and this is important for Area A, Area B, and the District of Lillooet. So if I hear you correct, Lillooet, District of Lillooet already has meetings with BC Hydro on an annual basis to review their plans.
I think they're talking amongst themselves, but I know that BC Hydro regularly present. And yes, as a matter of fact, I know that they do present at the District of Lillooet as
Yeah.
well as at the SLRD, and I'm sure that they would be more than happy. Sabrina is always looking for an opportunity to come and speak to the public about what they're doing. So
Yeah.
I see why I would get rid of the Northern SLRD Energy Subcommittee. We leave energy in there, but we just invite the public, the PR reps from Hydro to come and present to us. And Suzanne had something to add. Go ahead, Suzanne.
The intention of this was to get beyond a one-way presentation with BC Hydro, because I think we've all seen their material or sat through one of their presentations, and it's very slick and very well done. And to engage in more of a two-way dialogue about meaningful economic activity and trying to ensure that there's maximum benefit retained within our local communities. And if you have access to Sabrina, that's wonderful, because I have emailed her on several occasions and she doesn't return my emails. So maybe a discussion for another day, but you know, it's intended to be a deeper engagement than a presentation to the public
Yeah.
on their plans.
I've attended 3 or 4 of the Statlian sessions that they have, and they are 2-day sessions, and full-on all-day sessions basically. And they do feed you very well. There's no ands, ifs, or buts. But part of that conversation, they have breakout groups and so on and so forth. And then they get into what jobs are available and so on and so forth. But that's what we need in Area A, especially as it's coming up to the major project on the LaJoy Dam. And it's going to be probably a 1 or 2 to 3 year project where they actually have to add a whole nother layer of rock on the backside of the dam and also reconcrete the front of it. So there's lots of opportunities going to be coming, economic opportunities. So we need to start those conversations and have them come and present their plans. And we tried to get a meeting with them at the UBCM, but it failed. So I can work with you, Suzanne, on it. It's very important for our community.
It may be that I was on their Fish and Wildlife Compensation Program board for a number of years, Suzanne, and so I had to work with Sabrina quite a bit. Maybe I'm just drawing on that. I didn't know that was sort of a personal advantage that I have based on that. But all I'm thinking is that we don't need a subcommittee. We need this committee to hear from BC Hydro, I think. And that we would like a more fulsome discussion, I agree with you, than just their 30-minute presentation that you get at Hydro, for example. Okay, Jackie.
Is this need to change more from to an advocacy for economic development, understanding how we can get the information about plans and purchasing needs and ways that we can understand benefits and employment opportunities within to create those beneficial local economic activities. So we're, instead of forming a Northern Committee, we are hosting regular meetings with representatives to advocate, or I think the wordsmithing, maybe Patricia and Kristen can help me on this one, but yeah, we're sort of switching it to an advocacy role so that we are making sure that those opportunities come to our region first, or come to our region, period.
Yes, that's exactly what we want, because it benefits all 3 areas, because they do work, well, you got Seton Lake, all the power stations are there in Area B. The dams are up here at in our valley, and Lillooet is a service center.
Surrounded by the watersheds that are grievously impacted. Yeah, totally. So we're just changing the wording on this and making it more of an advocacy, and it's more of a, like, we are seeking regular meetings with BC Hydro, talking about what they're doing in our area. Is that right? So the lead.
And the job
and AB.
opportunities. Yeah.
I'm wondering if, because it's 12:30, do you guys want 5-minute break here? And then take the last hour that we have? Or, I mean, I'm really happy. We're making some pretty substantial progress on this. Where's everyone at? I know Kim, your appointment to go to. Yes, Sal.
That's the last one I've got. And,
oh.
Yeah, and also I have contacted Sabrina about this, and I will contact her again now that I know that we won't have those conversations with BC Hydro. And she was looking into it already.
Who was doing that, Sal? Sorry, who was looking?
I bet Sabrina.
Okay,
From
I just
BC
didn't.
Hydro. Yeah, so that's an action item that I've already.
Ah, okay. You've already initiated the contact with Sabrina, and
Yes.
now you can follow up and actually invite her to come to this committee in the future.
No,
Inviting people yet.
to come out to have a community forum in our area. And so that all the community members can be part of that station and duties, et cetera.
Okay, so yes, Suzanne, thank you very much for yeah, I think the meetings are normally scheduled to be an hour and a half, but we did schedule 3 hours to try and make progress on this document, but your participation's been super helpful. Thank you. And Kristen, you have your hand up. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. Follow
So,
up with any other questions offline with anyone. Thanks, everybody.
thanks, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Sorry. So is the wording then, can we just leave it at advocacy with BC Hydro? To understand, like, do you want that other, or do you just want it more general?
So looking at 12.1A.
Yeah.
We don't need a subcommittee.
Yeah.
But we should meet regularly with representatives from BC Hydro to understand their evolving plans and purchasing needs and brainstorm ways to create beneficial local economic activity. That's all good. So the question was, is there a committee already? We don't want too many committees. I think we can get rid of that. And it is immediate. And in terms of action, we don't need, I think we're putting area A as already initiating some contact, but this committee would be the lead team. And maybe advocacy should be added in the actual content there. Jackie, do you want to add to that?
Perhaps the word just needs to say meet regularly with to advocate and understand, or to understand their evolving plans and advocate. Where should we put that one? And advocate, sort of probably advocate ways to create beneficial local. I mean, it brainstorm.
Yeah.
I mean, it sort of just,
No, advocate's better. Advocate is
fine.
better.
Yeah. Instead of
Advocate for ways to create beneficial local. There is so much room for improvement on that front. It's just astonishing.
Yeah, it is definitely. The Chamber of Commerce had a really hard time trying to get them to come and give a presentation. So yeah, perfect. We can get rid of that question thing. You're right, Kristen, just get rid of the concern now. Yeah. And I'm good with 5 minutes. And then just to let you guys know, there's now only 8 ones on my list that are, because 2 of them got covered off by Sal. And some of them are super easy because it's just cross-referencing with the ag plan. So I'm hoping ours won't take very long.
Yes, Kristen.
Sorry, just to squeeze this in. So for the lead organization, what do we have here?
NEDI, NEDI, I think is good enough, but Sal is, but under action, Sal actually has initiated some. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Is that good with everyone? I just need to stretch and get a glass of water and just take 5.
Okay, we are going to leave this running. Just
Yep.
you might want to mute yourself and turn your video off. Thank you.
Hey, guys. We're making progress.
Oh,
Karen, don't you have a trip you need to take up to 70 Mile or something? Oh, you don't? Okay, okay. Okay. Didn't want to hold you up if you're supposed to be on the highway. Our next
Maybe
meeting
delay a bit.
delayed a bit.
Well, we're planning to be away next week. So then if we didn't actually figure it was a bad idea to pick up a puppy, then leave it with someone. We were just going to see if and I actually haven't heard from the guy yet either. So I'll have to give him a shout and see what the story is. But yes, it was very exciting for a few moments there when we thought it was today.
Yeah, they need their routine for the first little while, for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of not fair to leave a puppy with people going, oh yeah, by the way, can you get up every couple of hours to make sure it goes pee? It's fair.
I'm helping Catherine with her pup right now. It's huge.
Yeah. It's like having a baby. Fortunately, it just doesn't last quite as long.
Patricia, are you getting a headache from this?
Not yet, no, I'm okay. Lots of coffee.
I got up at 4 for some insane reason. I've been very busy. I do see our next meeting is scheduled for November 5th, so we'll talk a bit about that before we sign off. One thing I wanted to mention that I just wrote was I really liked, Kristen, when the statement we had above the strategic plan that we did for the SLRD. I really like that about sort of operating in the First Nations in a changing climate. Exists on the traditional territory of, here we would say, Statlium, in a world challenged by changing climate. Anyway. We'll see what our final version looks like when we get there. So we're finished with Sal and Area A, Karen, and I'm not sure, Jeremy, Lori. Is that as far as we want to edit this for now? Like, we kind of have to see it edited, right?
Well, Vivian, we had a couple things that were outstanding from our comments.
I know, but I'm just sort of, okay, let's go to that. Jackie, over to you.
I think they were actually, I'm hoping, so do we have Jeremy back and Lori? Because I think it's related to questions basically for staff on for both governments. The first one is 4.1C. So I have a question there. We have a question that says to the staff, is this a good action and is it feasible? Like it just wanted to put it out there. It is only review the opportunity. So it's not like you're going to action anything immediately. So.
Hey, so yes, I've had conversations with our planner and he's very pro tax incentives. It's not actually really relief, it's an incentive for improvement in business areas.
Okay.
So it delays their taxes or reduces them temporarily for a little while. So that would be something that could be looked at, is likely to be looked at by staff in 2021. Because we want to have the OCP sort of set the areas of where do we want downtown to be. We don't give tax incentives for the wrong area. So that's very likely to happen in 2021. As well, not really related to it, but we're a day or two away from finally being able to do this facade improvement program through the NDIT. That's going to be administered by the Chamber of Commerce. So we should see some improvements happening in that aspect as well.
Nice. Okay. So the same question goes to Kristen and Patricia. Does this make sense for SLRD as well then? To review the opportunity?
Yeah, we don't collect our taxes. The province collects them. I'm not sure what I would have to look into that. I don't know. I don't know if we have any ability to do what a municipality might be able to do.
Okay, so then reviewing the opportunity is still applicable in this case, I guess.
Yeah, I just don't have any answers for you.
No, I don't need answers. All I needed was, did this particular action make sense as it's worded? And if it does, then
yeah.
Perfect. Get rid of it and carry on. I'm on to the next one.
But before you go there, Jackie, just
Yeah.
because it was mentioned, so we're going to change that tax relief to tax incentives for one thing, and under actions is that the District of Lillooet is looking at incentives for 2021, but also up above, the district and the chamber are doing a facade improvement project like in 2020. But also Area B and Area A are looking at a facade improvement project for 2021. Right, Sal? Okay, thank you. I got the nod. So that can be added as actual actions that are happening. Okay, now.
Okay,
Carrie.
sorry, just hold, give me a minute here. So I'm going to take this question off.
Yep.
I'm going to add the notes about District of Lillooet looking at this and change the wording to tax incentives.
Mhm.
Okay.
And the facade improvements are happening now in the district and in 2021 in areas A and B, optimistically, possibly.
Okay, we're good. Okay,
Thanks.
okay, perfect. Just give me the word if I'm going too fast. So the next is 7.1C, where specifically was, and I tried to do this when we were on our 5-minute break, but I couldn't do it fast enough. 7.1C, supporting weekly farmers markets, etc. Is this a duplicate from the ag plan? So just need to cross-reference this to see if we already have this in place or whether this is an additional item. Because if it's already in the ag plan, we should just reference it or something. So that just needs to, I don't know, flagged, and then we just need to look.
So sorry, you want us to flag it in here? Sorry, I'm not clear what you want us to change here.
Well, at this point, I don't know if there's any changes needed because I don't know if
I'm sure that in the Lillooet Agriculture and Food Plan, I'm sure they have a reference to the weekly farmers market, but I'm okay duplicating it here in the short term. This is okay, right? For now, right?
Okay, so it does already make reference to the agriculture plan, so that's fine. Then given direction from Vivian, let's just remove that duplicate question and and we're good with that one.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
8.1 A. And this was what I was hoping to ask. Oh, sorry, not A, E as an echo. We were hoping to ask Suzanne about this before she left, but maybe somebody else can clarify this particular action, because we weren't sure if it's targeting tourism or what exactly this is doing, or
I think this comes out of from the days when we had the Pink House and the Wellness Center. You know, like this is brought forward from old reports, I think. That's how it hit me. I'm not sure why we would be doing a private sector business attraction campaign targeted to health. I'm not, I don't see that as being something that this committee should necessarily.
is Lori there? Like maybe she also, well, both of you, that those services provided in the community are add to the health and wellness and why people would come to Lillooet. So it's not that we, yeah, would this just be, how would we, because it definitely, I think you're right, Vivian, we've lost our, lost a few people, lost a few massage therapists, and we would like to, and our chiropractor. So there's things that in those sectors where it's not necessarily, well, we can put it through our health plans. So if it's good to have these things offered. So it's not.
No. It was the attraction campaign that got me. I'm not sure, like there's tons of things that we would like to attract and have going on in Lillooet. I just didn't want to narrow it down to this particular focus. That was my reaction.
I think we can take out the question mark, that word tourism though. So I feel like it is targeting things like the massage therapy and things like that. So not yoga and spa. So we could leave it as is, and other than just to put support a private sector business attract. Like, I think it's the same, similar, but it would be Chamber of Commerce. So if they, or something, I don't know if we would necessarily lead that.
So Lori, I see your hand up.
So I would agree that with the Pink House, I don't think that the Pink House was targeting tourism in any way. And I think the Pink House has really been replaced by like Kelsey Brown. She does the
Physiotherapy.
Yeah, therapy, and Tara's got a new spa and everything. The only thing I would think would be, we went to Whistler one time and they had a big thing focused on yoga, right? So it was all out there in the middle of Whistler, and people had come from everywhere to do this whole yoga program. And that was kind of cool. And unless it was, this question was to target tourism in that scope, I would say that, this is more individual. So I think it just depends on what you're trying to, or what we're trying to accomplish there.
Well, that's where I was trying to sort of, it's too bad Suzanne couldn't speak to that, but the more that I read this, I feel like because it's in the healthcare section, that it speaks to those healthcare providers that are offering services, the service providers. So that's like the Kelsey Browns, the Vanessa Wolf, like people who have their own businesses and are providing healthcare, like chiropractic, that kind of thing, and massage therapy. So let's get rid of the tourism word, and let's get rid of the question and leave the support a private sector business and leave it at that. That's my suggestion.
And by support, you mean, just kidding.
Sit down, Lori.
Well,
I don't have control of the mute function.
Yeah. And that one I
Okay.
think we could leave open because I don't really know what we do other than if the chamber decided we needed a few extra massage therapists in town, or I don't know, whatever.
Right, I agree.
Something like that.
So one of the things I've suggested to the chamber for their work plan in the future, once they have resources, is to do a business attraction and retention campaign.
There you go.
Actually have documents and information available to interested businesses, because right now
Ah,
like the hunt for it. Where I came from before in Summerland, that was part of the fee for service agreement between the municipality and the chamber, was to annually refresh that business attraction and retention document. To make it
This-
easy for business owners to make those decisions of whether or not they want to come to the community. So hopefully they can start tackling that next year. And it wouldn't be just for one sector like that, it'd be for anybody.
Yeah.
It should be obvious from that information whether or not this is a place they want to do business. Additionally,
Nice.
we've been the local community-based organization, I forget what they're called, destinations or something like that, of doctors and health practitioners has just reached out to us yesterday asking to have a meeting about how they can grow health services in this community. So I'll be responding to them. And then in terms of the tourist thing, one of the things that will be looked at for the cultural center and perhaps other operations in partnership with our Indigenous communities is looking at Indigenous health services as a component of cultural experiences here. So you go to the cultural center and then you go to the sweat lodge and you do a cleansing, things like that. So there's certainly opportunities for this throughout other projects that are sort of started.
Okay, it sounds like though that tourism piece can be covered off in the tourism actions versus this one more supports the healthcare, and perfect. Those examples were really good examples.
yeah. Yeah, that's excellent. That's great work too, Jeremy, by the way.
Yeah.
Um,
Are we good? Does that one make sense, Kristen, then, and Patricia? I'm getting nods, that's good. Cool, okay, the next ones are a cluster. 9.1 A, B, and C. Sorry, I had something in my brain, probably not appropriate, okay. Yeah, A, B, and C, and they all relate. I think it's because the amenity migrant piece was something Vivian and I were trying hard to wrap our brains around. And now that I look at them again, they make probably pretty good sense. And that luckily somebody else who's very familiar with amenity migrants will take these up or things are already being done. Because I was looking at this and saying, you know, is this action practical or possible? Is invest is an active word. Do we need to change it to support? But I know that investment in these promotional pieces has occurred in the past. So like the District of Lillooet had videos, and there are promotional pieces that BVRCA has also done. So I still think that's important. We probably, unless anyone has any objections, we can just get rid of all my red crap there.
that's a motion to remove Jackie's red crap. Okay, yes.
Okay, good. And then did anyone else have any questions or things that came up on like A, B, or C? Or are we good with those? Silence is golden. Yay, okay, good.
Oh, no, Kristen has something.
Oh, Kristen, go
Yeah,
ahead.
sorry.
Thank you. Can we remove in the first column everything after migrants? So we're just going to leave that category as amenity migrants and then
Oh,
remove
yeah.
the rest of the red?
That was definitely just a note for us because we couldn't figure out what it was.
The no was for me, and I don't know how the language might change, but I sort of need to have that as a reference to know what we're talking about.
Oh, so you don't want me to remove it?
Well, is there a place where we can put it? Like maybe in the category description?
Or even just a star, it could be a footnote if we're worrying about number of pages, but
I think it might be appropriate to put it in the category description. somewhere, just a definition of amenity migrant, so we're clear about what that is. So just switching it from that squished into the action items to moving it over to a note under the category description.
Okay, so I'm just adding, I've gone to the first tab to item 9. I just copied that definition over and I'm going to paste it in there.
Sounds good.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, and lastly, I've got 2 in 11.1A is the first one.
Sorry, can you repeat those?
Oh, 11.1A.
Thanks.
And then 11.1D. So 11.1A, reviewing the opportunity for reopening of a wood products remanufacturing facility and support private investment. I was just like, what's our role? Like, I don't know if, does this make sense to staff? Does this make sense to other people?
We have a pretty nice business with wood products, value added with second growth.
Yeah.
There's probably more. Are we?
Because reviewing the opportunity means that we're going to actively do something about.
Yeah, I know.
So to me, I'm wondering, does this make sense to do this at this time? Or is this something that has happened in the past and now so this is me not knowing what's happening in this part of the world. And wondering if staff knows anything I don't know. Okay.
I don't know anything, unfortunately.
Sal might.
Yeah, across the river, in behind where the heliport is there, on the left-hand side when you're crossing it, there used to be a wood manufacturing plant there. And I
Evan.
knew people that used to work there.
Yeah, where CRC is now.
It wasn't Evans Products,
Right.
where CRC is now. Yes, that was a wood manufacturing plant and employed quite a few people.
Yeah.
And there's always talk about why we
That-
have a pellet plant, and there's lots of other talk about how we should be doing value added. I'm not sure that maybe we should put the word support in there now. Oh, no, Karen's still here, so.
Yeah, so that's yeah.
So if I may speak from a staff person's perspective, it's maybe philosophically different in some municipalities, but the staff's idea of supporting something at this level is to create an environment in the community where businesses can open up and can operate. It's not our job to actually try to make them operate or to find opportunities for them. Business savvy people are going to find those opportunities. We have to create the environment where they're welcome. So making sure our zoning is right, making sure our policies are right, making sure the infrastructure is there to support them. Do they need water or sewer and such like that? Making sure there are going to be problems with neighbors, right? But for a municipality or regional district to go out and investigate opportunities for a pellet plant or something, that seems to me to be well above and beyond our role. I could see a Chamber of Commerce maybe tackling that if they see a great opportunity and just want to get the word out to companies. But, and maybe some politicians may get involved in shaking the tree for people they know to come out here and look at it.
That's
But
what
the municipality itself isn't going to go researching that opportunity.
Well, Lori might remember too, back in the day, that this is what they did. Exactly what you said, Jeremy. They were shaking the tree. They were getting businesses to get, leaders together. And this pellet was something that they were really trying hard, and it had a lot to do with First Nations investment and First Nations leaders. So that's where I'm thinking that, like, with 11.D is my last one. And that one is the fact that it says review the opportunity for a wood pellet plant. Well, in this case, I think that we should just support any wood products manufacturing facilities and private investment Or maybe that's, both of them are mute points, because like you said, we're going to be supporting businesses as best as possible to come here and make sure there's no barriers in the way for that. So both of these are specific to the forest industry, because in the past we've been so connected to the forest industry and it's been our base. Like the District of Lillooet had a forestry committee for a while. So I think that these may be just older action items. What do you think, Lori? Like,
I totally agree. I totally agree. And like Jeremy says, that we would always support any wood product business that would come our way. But I agree. I don't think it's something that we're going to go out there and promote to seek people to come here. We will support people when they do come here.
And by support, I think your comment there, removing barriers or making sure there aren't barriers is the best we can do. We cannot support an individual business. That's actually against the law for us. So removing barriers too.
so 11.b, I think probably if we just change it up a little bit, might be the one that captures it all. And I'll ask Sal to also give his 2 cents worth on this, because he's been in the area for a long time with forestry stuff. So that, where it says review policies and if necessary, create an approval framework, blah, 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 that supports, maybe this is the one that we keep, and the rest of it, and the other 2, A and D, we just get rid of.
That certainly works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm waiting for Sal to.
No, that sounds pretty good. We definitely want, one of my pet peeves is, as with everybody, is the burn piles. And I've always thought that the rock quarry where PC Hydro blasted the rock for the dam, and they're going to be doing more of it coming up, would be a perfect spot for a cogen plant where you burn that material and create electricity out of it. You got power lines there, you got a river there for water, you got everything you need. So yeah, and we've talked about this concept locally. What could we do to enhance employment opportunities through value-added wood products? So definitely, we need to support that, and so we get the most out of it.
Okay. So in that case, then just leave 11.1b with the changed wording, review and leave that there. And rather than attract, we're just going to support or welcome value-added wood products. I think we have to have forestry in here, but that we can get rid of the first one.
And the last one, A and D, can be removed.
Okay,
And-
A and D, right?
So then, sorry, so C becomes A essentially then, correct?
No,
No?
no, B becomes A. So we're gonna have B and C will remain, and A and D will be removed. So you're gonna have just A and B now. Does that make sense? So A, we're gonna get rid of the review, the opportunity for reopening of a wood products, and then the reviewing the policies for creating an approval framework, blah, 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 will become A, and then C will become B, and D will be removed.
Tricia's nodding. Good.
Okay, that's it. That's all I have.
Okay. So do you think,
So
Oh.
sorry, before we move on, I'm so sorry. 11.1C, well, which is now, whatever.
I'm going back there, sorry.
That just, I think that's relevant somewhere, but I don't really know where to put it. It's just that that's the place where all of the state industry stakeholders are, including First Nations, is at the TSA committee. So,
Okay, so we'll leave it.
all right, sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the next meeting that we scheduled for Northern Economic Development Initiative Committee, and it is November 5th. So I guess the next question that I have, and I know that we have more work to do on this, but I'm just trying to anticipate whether or not we can expect to have this document updated. Do I need to make a motion to ask for these changes to be incorporated into this document to be ready for that November meeting? Or even better, maybe by mid-October? And so that's, Kristen, that's kind of a question for you and Patricia. I know that your workload is pretty extreme.
Yeah, I would say that, I mean, I would like the motion because then it
Yep.
we have something on a tracking sheet. And, you know, mid-October, the agenda goes out a week before the meeting. So, you know, I think we should just leave it at that date. And if we can, and it gets sent out with the agenda. I just don't want to overpromise anything here. I mean, it's not going to be me for one thing. We have a new CAO starting in a couple days, and so I will just say we'll put it in our normal process, which is bring it back with the agenda.
Okay, so in that case, then I'd like to make a motion to have staff incorporate all of those comments and changes for the November meeting, knowing that we'll get that a full week in advance. So we will have a chance to look at it. Okay, I'll leave that motion there and ask for a seconder. And okay, Sal, thank you. Opposed, seeing none. So that, for the record, is done now. I know we have a new CAO starting as soon as next week, but do you think we'll be able to plan, if we were to have our committee members, those that wanted to meet in person, depending on which way COVID goes? Of course, that is a complete unknown, but if it is practical and safe to meet in person on November 5th, can we plan to do that with just having staff to phone in? You don't have to travel over the mountain in November, but for the rest of the committee to meet in person. Do people want to do that? Can I ask about that? Yes, Sal? Yes, Kristen.
I'm just going to say, as a committee of the board, it's going to fall in line with what the board is doing. And
Okay,
so if we're
Alrighty.
able to meet in person, we'll meet in person. But I don't know. November is a long ways away, and there's lots going on right now. So I think of course, if we're able to meet in person, the board will be going in that direction. So I think we can just leave it like that.
Alrighty.
I mean, the board's going to be meeting in September. The board's going to be meeting in October. We have other committee meetings, and this is going to follow what the board is doing in terms of opening up to the public or not.
And lots of times Zoom, I mean, we've found that it can be a perfectly acceptable forum, particularly if winter conditions are terrible, then I like it. But I also would like this committee to be able to meet in person. So we'll just leave that there. And that meeting is scheduled to be from 10:30 till noon, right? Would that be the
I
normal?
think that's the normal schedule.
Okay, and so I just sort of want agreement, like just everybody's with me on that as well. Okay. All right. So do you want to just see how the tabs come out in terms of short, medium, long term and look at that at the next meeting? Do you want to do that now? We only have 15 minutes, so I'm wanting to check in with you guys. What would you, yes, Jackie?
I just did a quick sort. We're deleting 4 items. We have 31 immediate, 18 long-term, and 32 short-term. So under the immediate category, then there will be different leads, of course, but that's where I think Sal was going towards, was just like which ones are, I feel like at this point, then Sal bringing his suggestion forward and making that a motion for us to talk about, you know, the categories he was contemplating makes sense, so that we have a goal of putting specific action items. Because in my mind, I thought we were just going to do it for us as a committee, but it does, I like the way that he's suggested, and that he's also identifying what are the top 3 for the district and what are the top 3 for the SLRD, and just doing that sort individually, we can see if those top 3 make sense. Because we have to take it from the immediate list. There's probably going to be more from, yeah, we have to do that choosing next. So that would be I don't know if we need to do that today or whether we just make that's the priority for next time. But I like the idea of making it solid that what we're going towards, like, are we doing 3 for each different group, or what are we doing? Sal, can you go over the ones you were suggesting again?
Okay, this is what I had that everybody got. Identify 3 objectives that the SRD can spearhead. Identify 3 objectives that are important to each of the 3 northern areas. Identify 3 objectives that each area can work on alone. Identify what objectives collectively we can work on as teams of 2 areas. And identify what objectives collectively we could work on as teams of the 3 areas. So there were a couple of things there, you know, what's important to each area, and what is it that we can work on in teams of, or whether the SLRD can work on alone for us, etc. And that's where that RACI comes into play, and the way I designed, me and Karen designed that template. Because it's important to know who's accountable, who's responsible for actually doing the work and making it happen, and who are the team members.
So
Yep.
I just had a point of clarification. So it's basically 4 different things, and one of them was basically it would be team SLRD. So A and B, what we could work on together, and then what we could work on with AB plus the District of Lillooet, and then each area separately, and then the NETI committee. Oh, mute.
I would say the NETI committee is the three areas.
Okay.
Yeah. So SLRD, NETI, each area alone, and 2 together. I think I had 1 or 2 with area A and B.
So I think then can we put a motion for each, oh dear, okay. Holy, my brain is a bit foggy here. Okay, so I would like to put a motion that we do this. And though, so we do it before the next meeting because we're gonna have to sort through that. So even, it won't take, I don't know how long it'll take, but I think that Sal and Karen sound like they've already done this. That's why they went through the specific ones that they thought were a priority. So I feel like now area B, like Vivian and I should look at it from an area B perspective, and we should come ready to talk about our priorities. But as far as choosing which ones we work together on others, we might just have to come with recommendations. So I don't know, is this a motion? Help me out, somebody.
Well, I think it has to be a motion if we want to see it reflected in the minutes, and then that be built on at the next. And I mean, District of Lillooet, can you, you're going to, without the final document, but you know, you pretty much know what the contents are. Is it reasonable to do that for the next meeting, do you think, you guys?
So I'll say that our representative, which is normally Councillor Weeb, could prioritize herself, but she's just one member of council. So for it to have any meaning for the municipal government, it would have to go to council, and council would have to discuss it and come back with the priorities. So timing is going to matter on that. We've got one meeting this month and 2 in October. We could call the committee of the whole as well to discuss it. And it's really up to council whether or not they even want to discuss it. But we'd have to have the list in its updated form pretty quick so that we can actually prepare a report for them to have that meaningful discussion. As well, the idea of prioritizing for us as a municipality is probably premature because, again, we're about to go into in the coming months a strategy refresh for annual planning, right? So it could all change come early next year. Whatever we come up with now could be completely flipped to something different next year. So I don't know if that exercise is actually very valuable for us to be a part of, to be honest. I think for us, the greater value is like, for you definitely have your priorities, and it's good for us to know those. But the value in having this list is identifying the opportunities for collaboration, co-funding, and things like that in the coming years as our strategies roll out. But as to what's priority, I just don't see a great value in that right now for us, for you as well.
But I do think that as we do our OCP, I think that if we have a working document that is a collaboration of SLRD and everybody, then that will aid us in going forward with our OCP.
Yeah. We want to hear from you.
Vivian?
Yep, go ahead, Jackie.
So just to speak to what Jeremy had to say, I wonder if the district could at least look at what comes out as immediate, so that before you say, no, we can't prioritize, that maybe there's already things that are going on that you are prioritizing. Because as a member of this committee, this document, we're all trying to make a commitment. And I feel that what has come out of this exercise has been that, yes, collaboration is one goal, but also too, it is to prioritize actions. So it may be safer for you guys to say, you know, maybe there are certain things on there that aren't necessary, that are immediate, that you can safely prioritize because you're already working on them and they already are a priority. Yes, I totally acknowledge that it might change. But the whole purpose of this document is for all of the member governments and for us to have a vision moving forward and contributing to Northern economic development, not just it being a nice document that helps you collaborate. It's supposed to actually be actions moving forward. So maybe before we let's get the document and let's have a sort and see what's on there before we, because I would like it to be not one of those things that's just a nice document to refer to every so often. It's that it's something that's driving us forward all together. And I'm hoping that the stuff that you're already doing is gonna be in alignment with what's in here anyways. So I'm hoping that we can just get that document and then have a chance to before you make any, they make anything, like, let's just have a look at it before we go forward.
And Lori, yep, go ahead.
And I agree with that. Like, once we have the document done, and that's what I think what Jeremy was saying too, if it's not gonna be done until a week before November 5th, then we can't take it to the meetings. But I think that, you're right. We are working on a lot of these things already, and they are our priority. We're just saying that we can't speak for all council to agree with the whole document in its entirety until it's done and we do take it to council. But yeah, a lot of these things we are working on.
Yeah, so I could even go through the document as it exists right now and just mark things that are already in the existing strategic plan of council.
Oh, great. Well, that was kind of what we were hoping we already have. That would be great if, yeah, exactly. We definitely need to know that. So
We can
definitely that needed to happen. That needs to happen for sure.
You haven't read our strategic plan? It's on our website.
We could do that just at the next meeting for sure.
Yeah. I just feel like that's the best that we can do in terms of like prioritizing, is to say what is and isn't. Not that we want something that we're not currently working on to become a priority. We can't do that for the next meeting, I don't think.
We understand the process, but eventually the process is going to be you guys taking it to council saying these are the three ones we're comfortable with because it's already happening, or whatever your reasoning is. Then you guys give us that recommendation. Then we have to take it to the SLRD board, and then the board has to say we accept their. So we have a process that needs to happen too. But the fact is that we're relying on you as the expert of your own strategic plan to identify what is already in progress and what we're in this particular plan is already happening. So we definitely need to make sure that any strategic planning that's occurring is identified in this list as well. Okay, we're good, I guess. It's still a good process just to do a bit of sorting and look what's on there.
Yes, Sal.
I think for next meeting, if we go through each one of those and just go through the timing on them, the short term, immediate, long term, so on and so forth. And I think we should be able to do that. And it shouldn't take too long.
Vivian and I already did that.
But it's okay. We can do the exercise again when we see the final. I personally will print it, and my brain works better when I'm looking at that. The document that I have now is just a huge mess, and I'm sure Patricia's is probably even worse. So we can take a fresh look at it, and we can also, those of us that can do some of that priority setting, that will all be to the good when we actually meet, because it will be a shorter meeting, and we'll try and complete that exercise at the next meeting then, I think. Is that the best we can do today? I think so. I think it's hard to be on Zoom for this length of time, and this is a hard exercise to do on Zoom. So I'm really grateful to all of you for your participation in this. And I'm happy with what we got done today. And there was actually a lot of really good collaboration and learning that went along today. So thank you. Could we have a motion to adjourn? Are there other things I need to do? Is there late business? Director's notion of motion? Yes, Sal, are you motioning to adjourn?
Not yet. I just want to thank Kristen for her interim role position for this committee over the last several months, and out on the technical side of the meetings. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
And Graham too. Both Graham and Kristen have had to step up and do double duty, and I think Patricia's doing triple duty. So thank you all. All right, I think we can sign off. Graham, I think you can sign us off. Thank you very much, everybody.